Larry Adderly, who was a television sportscaster, beloved across the state of Michigan, and is in Edmore this morning, where he's resting very comfortably and up early, though, hopefully with some coffee or something to get him going. Good morning to you.
Coffee and a donut, the lifeblood of morning and nighttime radio.
You're right about that. You got to be very excited about your old team. You played for Michigan State, and now all of a sudden 7-0 and looking pretty good with a shot at the national championship even, don't you think?
Yep. Even for the accuracy, however, I should say I walked on and tried to play for Michigan State, but never quite made it to the Saturday afternoons. But it was fun, and it's fun to watch what's happening now as we finally get some stability after, 9 coaches in the last 40 years?
Yeah, it's funny that you say stability because it hasn't exactly been a very stable season with Coach D'Antonio having the heart attack and having to recover and then coach from the press box. If you're a player on that team, it's a most unusual year, but the results are pretty good.
Well, the stability is that a coach can step aside with a crisis like that, and everything flows on because his staff is ready, his players are ready, young guys are blossoming, and the recruiting situation is just excellent. We got young talent everywhere, it looks like.
I think people would probably be surprised how little involvement the head coach has in the course of a game. Isn't that true? I mean, some of them don't even call the plays. They just sort of manage everything, right?
Right, because they've got healthy staffs for each specific position and the line grouping and the back grouping and things like that. So, sure, they've got the ultimate call, but they don't necessarily have to make every call.
Do you think that the Spartans could go undefeated?
Sure. Do I say that confidently? No. It's a funny thing because you think of the history that a fan has of their favorite team, and in this case, you look at Northwestern game coming up Saturday, and that's a team that's just given us headaches through the years. And I can't explain it because you change players every 3 years or so.
Yeah.
They rotate through, so it shouldn't be guys with memories like pro football. But still, some schools seem to do that. Purdue crushed the Spartans way years ago when they stopped their 28-game winning streak, and Purdue's been a thorn in our side other years also.
And they've never won the Spartans at Penn State, I'm told, and that's where they have to go to close it all out at the end of the year. It's going to be Thanksgiving weekend, I think, and it's going to be cold.
That's not a long series, though, so it doesn't have the kind of history that you would say indicates for sure a loss. And Penn State seems to be struggling this year.
Yeah.
So, don't know but till we get there, but I love Kirk Cousins. Try to go 1-0 every week, and that's the only proper attitude for an athlete to have.
You hosted Michigan Replay for a long time. What do you think? Where do you put the Wolverines now? Do you think that Rich Rodriguez will be back next year if he gets to, let's say, the Motor City Bowl? All they need is one more game to be bowl eligible, right? One more win.
A lot of people keep writing about that and neglecting to add the codicil of unless the NCAA says no bowl activity for a couple of years, which is highly likely. They're down with a penalty that appeared both at West Virginia and Michigan, and though Michigan fans scoff at the penalty, they were doing something that most other teams weren't allowed to do and got caught, and they're going to get some kind of penalty. So I don't know that bowl eligible will make them bowl eligible.
It's funny. Does Denard Robinson, though, give Rich Rodriguez at least another year?
I think that's exactly the case. Yeah. If you look at what the potential that's there, you have to say, boy, next year might be great, and it wouldn't be totally fair, although coaches get fired, and it isn't fair, like broadcasters. But to let him have Rich Rod at least have a year with a fully developed offense would be probably the fair thing to do.
He didn't help his case, though, Rich Rodriguez, this week by saying things like even Vince Lombardi couldn't help that defense. And then he also said, well, at least we're fun to watch.
That's like kind of throwing your defensive coaches out off the bus, isn't it?
Yeah, you're Michigan. If you don't like it, aren't you supposed to do something about it?
Yeah. If you're the head coach, you're supposed to probably make more guarded comments than that. Yeah.
Have you filled out your absentee ballot, or are you voting on Election Day?
I'm voting on Election Day.
Are you a decided voter? Have you made up your mind?
Not about everything, but about some things. And, generally I'm just disappointed in political advertising. Frustrates me no end that people are allowed to come very close to the lie border
Yeah.
and get away with it, where you wouldn't allow advertising on your station that said this product would guarantee you wouldn't get cancer or something like that. There's a guide for most advertising, but not for political advertising.
Yeah, especially when we're only 13 days now till that you can complain all you want, you can ask for retractions, but the damage is done by the time the lever is pulled.
Yeah, and all the old scare tactics come out. I mean, who among us doesn't realize that Social Security is going to have to be modified, repaired, something, because we're coming to a point where there will not be enough workers to feed the money for the people who are retired. We're
Yeah,
run out of money, and someone politically has to have the courage to try to fix that.
See, if you said that, Larry Adderly, they'd never elect you, though. You'd be the boogeyman. Good talking to you. Enjoy the Spartans and the Wolverines and Central Michigan, too. And we'll talk again soon to the great Larry Adderly, sports broadcaster in Michigan at 35 after the hour.